Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Figure It Outcast. This is your podcast for April 2017. My name is Adam Koralik, welcome, and I am joined by, of course, Chip Senkbeil. Chip, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? I slept in way too late today, but I already have done some cardio and some workouts, so I'm feeling pretty good.
That's good, man. Anything else going on with you?
Let's see. I still have not played any video games in a little while.
Wow.
Just got a new game coming in. It's for the 3DS, and I've already forgotten the name of it. But apparently it's like robots, and it's like a side-scrolling platformer with robots and plugs and flying around. Sounds cool.
Badass. Personally, I too have not had a chance to play much recently. I have a better excuse, I think. I was out in Los Angeles for a week, where I actually did get to play some stuff. I was out there through Machinima, and they had us check out the Warner Brothers lot, so we got to hang out in the Warner Brothers studio, and we got to do a lot of filming of some VR games, which was fucking awesome.
Very cool.
You guys will... Oh, dude, there's going to be a video of this shit on my other channel, on Game Society, where... So, like, Machinima has a giant studio space that's like a big green room, right? It's all painted green and everything. And they have like an HTC Vive in there. And it's connected through a wire, so you have this helmet on, and you have, like, these two handle things, and you can walk around three-dimensionally in that space. And the games that they have are all compatible with that space. And so they know, like, the limits of the space. So they were like, yeah, you guys are going to play these different things, like this game where you interact with, you know, a whale, this zombie game, this, like, gladiatorial game, and this game called, like, a bar brawl, where it's literally you're in a bar and just you decide to pick a fight with everyone in the bar, and you pick up objects and you beat the hell out of them and stuff. And that's the one I was playing. Now, so in that game... you'll see all sorts of characters, and you're supposed to just grab stuff and just beat the living shit out of them. And it was a lot of fun, but I got way too into it. So when you are playing it and you're moving around, you're actually moving around in the real space. And the game is supposed to, like, warn you of when you're coming up to the real wall. But they had just updated it, and that part was broken, I guess, because it didn't say anything. It was supposed to show, like, a blue screen. But no, don't worry. There's a backup. The actual crew that was filming me in the room was like, if you get too close to the wall, we'll scream wall, and you'll know, and you'll just stop. And I was like, yeah, no problem, right on. So anyway, I'm sitting there fighting a guy, and I beat the shit out of him in the game. And then I see another guy, and I move towards him. Of course, I'm actually moving in real life, and I see him, and I proceed to punch him, the motherfucker, as hard as I can. And I actually hit the wall. I punched the wall as hard as I can. And so the first thing that happens is the shock that I had physically done something. And then second was the shock of the fact that the Vive I was wearing has that cable on it, right? And the cable has no reason to be longer than that space. Therefore, when I went beyond that space, it just it just yanked the HTC Vive off of my head. Which was pretty cool. So all in one move, I punched a wall and had my, like, whole body thrown back by the cable on the HTC Vive. I thought it was hysterical. They were panicked. They thought I was gonna, like, sue them. I'm like, why would I sue you? This is, like, cool shit ever.
Did you hurt your hand?
No, not at all. I was fine. That's what they were really worried about too. Is, like, they thought I might have, like, broken my hand because I punched a fucking wall as hard as I could.
Yeah, man.
But no, I was totally fine. I'm still totally fine. Like, I didn't even get a bruise. Like, I'm totally fine.
You're just that strong, man. You're that strong.
No, apparently. But anyway, so we got footage of all of this, and it's going to be a video on my other channel. And that game was fun as shit, but it was really obviously tiresome because, you aren't just clicking buttons. I mean, like, the character only throws a punch when I throw a punch, and it's all based on my actual movements. So that shit was a lot of fun, but it proved to me how unbelievably impractical VR is. I mean, for us to do that and have, like, the full VR experience, they had to literally have a room in a movie studio set up just for the purpose of playing it.
It's pretty crazy.
No one's gonna build a fucking VR gaming room in their house.
No. Well, you never know. There are pretty crazy people out there.
Maybe. But yeah, LA was a lot of fun, but I don't want to bog this down. Maybe I'll talk about it in a live show at some point. But yeah, I had a lot of fun out there.
Cool, man.
And I want to give a heads up to a lot of people, because if you're a Patreon backer, you're getting this podcast at the beginning of April. But to most of you, you will get this at the end of April. I want to let you know I'm going to FanQuest, which is a convention at the end of May in Winnipeg. This is your warning. If you want to meet me, you live in Winnipeg, this may be the one and only time I'm ever going to Winnipeg for all I know. So if you ever want to meet me and you live out there, come to FanQuest and we'll hang out. It's like the weekend of the 26th, I believe it is. So this is your official 1 month warning to most people in Winnipeg.
There you go. 1 month.
1 month. So yeah, you want to proceed? You want to get into the subjects here, buddy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This first subject was actually picked by you. How appropriate. We basically wanted to talk about how the Nintendo Switch is doing pretty well, and how long do we think that'll last?
Yep. Yeah, so
go ahead.
So I've watched a couple of other YouTubers discuss. I believe the Switch is doing very, very well in Japan at the moment. And then supposedly it's also doing fairly well in Europe and North America. And it's interesting because, at least with the coworkers I have and friends I have that have the Switch, when they talk about it, they typically just talk about the Legend of Zelda game, right? And that is pretty much the primary reason they got a Switch in the first place. Most of them did not have a Wii U either. So, I had a Wii U. I actually got the Legend of Zelda game for that. So I don't own a Switch yet. And I haven't actually played the game. But most of them got the Switch because they're like, oh, it's Nintendo's new console, not knowing the Wii U existed. Let me get the Switch and get the new Legend of Zelda game. And I'm curious if the gap between the Legend of Zelda and, say, the next Mario game, which is coming out, do you remember when that's coming out?
If you're talking about Super Mario Odyssey, supposedly like December, but I think Nintendo has a plan there, but we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So my concern is if they don't have another system-selling game, which I'm actually surprised that many people in the U.S. bought the system or at least that I've spoken to, primarily for Legend of Zelda, because I always viewed that as a cultural aspect of Japan, right? Japan, I've heard quite a lot of, literally a system being sold for a single game, like the Monster Hunter games, I think, were system sellers at the time, and other games like that. So to hear that happen in the U.S. was pretty interesting, but I also thought, it's also a fact that most people, more casual gamers or fans of the classic Nintendo games, didn't even know Nintendo had the Wii U. So I'm wondering if the marketing for the Wii U had been better, if they would have gotten that for some game, but there weren't really that many system-selling games on the Wii U compared to the Switch already, right?
Yeah, which actually brings me to my next point about that, which is, you know what Nintendo's next title for the Switch is?
No, what is it?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They're taking the best-selling Wii U title and putting it onto the Switch. That's their effort to kind of band-aid them some time until they have a newer title come along. It's kind of a brilliant move, because if you think about it, a lot of people, as you mentioned, didn't ever buy the Wii U. They didn't know the Wii U ever existed. Since I'm sure Nintendo is painfully aware that the only reason the Switch is selling as well as it is because of Legend of Zelda, it makes perfect sense to then throw out the biggest selling game on a dead platform, the Wii U, with Mario Kart 8, hoping that keeps the momentum going forward so that you then address the drought problem even later.
Yeah. And I think that will help. I think it actually will do a decent amount to keep people interested in remembering the Switch, right, with that game coming out. Because like you said, most people that aren't hardcore gamers didn't even know the Wii U existed. Or if they did, they kind of forgot it was a Nintendo console and kind of wiped it from their own memories. So yeah, I totally forgot about that actually. Seeing that being brought over is kind of neat, because I, even though I have a Wii U, I don't actually own Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U. So I might just wait and pick that up for a Switch if I get a Switch later, right?
Yeah, there you go. It's kind of an interesting strategy Nintendo's going with. Because they don't have much third-party support, they're just banking on the most superstar of their own titles to try and generate enough sales in consoles to then hopefully get third parties to go. Whereas the PlayStation and Xbox model for the last couple cycles has been get the third parties in immediately, sell a bunch of units, and then kind of trickle out your own exclusive properties. Nintendo's kind of doing it exactly the opposite way.
Yeah. So
Well, I wish them well. I just think it's a dangerous game to play.
it's a dangerous game. What are the chances you think they'll succeed versus fail with this approach?
Well, I'm still of the philosophy that in the long run the Switch probably won't do that well. I mean, I've said this before. I think we're kind of we're still in the honeymoon phase where everybody's kind of high off of The Legend of Zelda, as you keep pointing out. But if they can't keep up that type of momentum, as we just talked about, I don't know, man. I see it not lasting that long. Like, I think a lot of people who only bought it for Legend of Zelda might be parting ways with it as soon as they finish that game.
Maybe.
Because it's unlikely that we'll see another true Legend of Zelda game on that console unless it's like really at the end of its life cycle. Because like the last one was in development for over 4 years. It started in development at the very end of the original Wii's life cycle. So I just don't, I don't know. I wouldn't see that being another thing. And if they put Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on there, I don't know if you're going to see another true Mario Kart game on there. And you start to run out of stuff kind of quickly. Super Mario Odyssey will help, but I don't know. You had a lot of quality titles on the Wii U that didn't get it through. Now, they were smarter this time by launching with the most demanded game on the platform, but we have to remember the only reason it came out on the Switch at all was because the Wii U was a failure. Let's not forget that game was intended for the Wii U and is on the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
Had the Wii U had survived even another year, then Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild would have busted its load on the Wii U and probably not come to whatever would become the Switch a year from now and not have nearly the same type of momentum.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish them well. I'm glad it's doing well. Although second week sales in Japan were not as good as the Wii U's second week sales, which says something. But it's still too early to know. But my prediction still is that ultimately the Wii U probably won't do that well. But I would fucking love to be wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No one wants to see a company like Nintendo go down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really want to see any major console developer go down because it's like, well, that doesn't really help any of the gamers that want to play the games, right?
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so crossing fingers with that. No, not really anything else to discuss with that one. I think you made some valid points with regard to whether it will succeed or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope they're valid.
Yeah.
All right, then are you ready to move on?
Absolutely.
All right, well, the next subject was one of mine, and it actually is in the same vein. It's also about the Nintendo Switch to a lesser extent. It's specifically about a game called Lego City Undercover. Now, have you ever heard of this game, Chip?
I've heard of Lego games, but not Lego City Undercover, so give me the background on it.
Okay, so Lego City Undercover came out in like 2013 for the Wii U as a Wii U exclusive. It was one of the few third-party major exclusives the Wii U had. Now, because of that, it didn't really do all that well. And now they've re-released the game on multiple platforms. It's on the Xbox One, it's on the PS4, and it's on the Nintendo Switch. Now, the interesting thing about the Nintendo Switch version is that apparently, despite the fact the game was like 3 years old now, it wasn't done. The Switch version actually will require a 13 gigabyte install to even function. And when I say install, I don't mean like the card installs onto the console. It requires a 13 gigabyte download off the internet, a patch, in order to operate. Now, I was reading a bit about this, and this is kind of a bad omen because the game actually requires an internet connection. Like, without that patch, the game won't even start. On top of that, apparently it's because of the way Nintendo kind of allotted the amount of space that exists on Switch cards. Like, you can get really big Switch cards, or for less money, you can have smaller ones manufactured. Now, in this case, WB Games decided to go with the smaller cards because they're cheaper and thought, we'll just create a server and, host that patch and just do it that way. So, in essence, the card they're selling you is a coaster. It's not really useful. And patches are annoying as shit already, but when you factor in that the Switch has only internally 26 gigabytes of usable storage space, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, it can use SD cards or micro SD cards. Like, I have a 128 gigabyte card in mine. Of course, you only get about 118 of that usable. But the fact that 13 of it would be taken up by Lego City Undercover just because they cheaped out on the cards is not encouraging,
Nope.
especially for the future, considering where we are right now, especially with a game that's really just a port of a 3-year-old game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised Nintendo didn't have any kind of quality control or protection to verify, like, you don't have such a large patch to play the game, right? Like, you think...
My guess is that they didn't want to piss off WB Games, because WB Games was pretty much, other than Ubisoft, like the only third-party developer that stuck with them during the Wii U. And so they probably were like, please keep supporting the Switch.
Yeah.
And if this is what it takes, they're just going to put up with it.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
It's like I feel like you kind of hinted, we're gonna need like a site that gives you alerts for each game that comes out on the Switch to tell you whether or not that kind of problem is with that card, right? Whether it's gonna be a poster or an actual game.
Mm-hmm. To be fair to the game, it says it right on the back that that's a requirement.
Oh, it does?
It does. That's how people figured it out. But that's really unfortunate that's a thing at all. I really don't like that idea. Like, if you know that you're going to need 13 gigabytes more content, and apparently it's done because it's a 3-year-old title.
Yeah.
Don't cheap out on the fucking cards, man.
Yeah.
But whatever. This is like the classic old 5th generation argument of like N64 versus PlayStation or Saturn. Media storage space. You know, N64 cartridges were always more expensive to produce because they were physical cartridges. So to have bigger spaces, you had to have more chipsets in them, which is why like Resident Evil 2 on the N64 costs like way more to produce than it ever could possibly have earned. Like each cartridge of that cost them like $70-$80 to produce, while the cartridge can only sell for like $60. The point of it was just to prove that the N64 could handle the game. And in the end, the cartridge only had like 128 megabytes of storage, whereas a cheap-ass CD-ROM could hold up to like 700 megabytes.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same problem, whereas the Blu-rays that the Xbox One and the PS4 are using, they don't run into this issue. It's kind of weird to be having this same kind of issue popping up in 2017.
Well, it's interesting that Nintendo even offered a choice of card sizes. I'm surprised... I'm wondering if that's going to get if they'll phase out smaller sizes as the cost becomes a little cheaper to produce the bigger ones, right?
That's a good point. That could be.
Because if later they just decide, you know what, we don't want to maintain these different sizes. Let's just move to manufacturing purely this one that's the bigger one. Maybe that would help with later games. But the fact that they even have this option right now, it's like, why would a company ever go for the larger size if they can just squish in, the bare minimum that they need on the card and then make everything else just a download available, right?
Yeah, it might be in an effort to attract indie developers, but it could be that the bigger boys are kind of taking advantage of that little, shall we call it a loophole?
Yeah. You mean make it like exclusive to indies?
That would be unfortunate.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate, because then it's like, we have a console that really wasn't actually physical media.
Yeah,
oh, dear.
I don't like that, especially with such limitations on internal storage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it basically requires you to get an SD card now.
Well, that was pretty much already a requirement, dude. Like, because like they're still doing patches, of course, like all the games are. Like Zelda just got patched again. Now it improves a lot of the frame rate issues and the slowdown issues that the Switch version has to make it much more seamless. So, that stuff adds up, dude. And this is my advice to anyone who owns a Switch: get an SD card for it before you even turn the damn thing on, because you cannot move your data once it's installed somewhere on that thing. So, like, if you were to, for example, play Legend of Zelda without the micro SD card in there, and you got the install, you got all your game saves, everything, you've been put like 100 hours in the game, whatever, and then you decide, okay, I need more space, I'm going to put an SD card. You can't move it from the internal storage to the SD card. It's locked to that.
That seems pretty limiting.
Until they... I know. It's very annoying. And unless they ever do a firmware update on it, which who knows, they might, it'll be stuck there. And that's not good. So, like, right out of the box, make sure you have a micro SD card.
There you go. Tips from Adam.
There you go. Tips and tricks. All right. Well, if you have nothing else to say on that, I guess we'll move on. Is that good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. All right, we got a couple of shout-outs here. The following people are at the Patreon backer level, where they get a shout-out during this podcast, and I wish to thank them for their continued support of my Patreon and the podcast and the whole channel in general. Thank you, guys. First up is Colin. You guys know him back. Colin goes, he's been around for a long time. Chip, what do you have to say about Colin?
Oh, well, Adam, I think Colin is the most suave, handsome man I have never met. And I think he's doing a fantastic job supporting you and this podcast.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of great Colin things.
He's Colin-tastic.
Oh, shit, that's good. All right. Thank you, Colin. And the second up is a new one. We got a new one. We got Paul Lewis. Now, Paul Lewis, I believe he started supporting me just recently. And what had happened is I had done a 5.5-hour live stream Q&A where, like, for about 2.5 hours, I was just taking questions, from the live audience. And then Chip, I believe at around 2.5 hours, you were like, "Hey, you want me to join in?" And I was like, "Yes." And then you popped in with Remy, and then we went for a grand total of like 5.5 hours, right? You remember that?
Yeah, it was pretty extreme.
It was pretty fun. But after that, Paul started supporting me, and I think he said something effective like, "Anybody who would go for 5.5 hours on a live stream deserves my support." So he's like, "Here you go." So thank you, Paul, and welcome to the Patreon podcast, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Thank you to both you and Colin.
It's good to have you here, Paul.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. So now, if you're ready, we will move on to the next subject. You good?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. This also comes from a longtime supporter. This is Kyle Vaughn. Now, he didn't have a specific subject in mind, so he said I could just pick whatever I wanted, and I thought this would be pretty good. Do you remember, Chip, a company called Mad Catz? You ever buy any of their stuff?
I do remember the company. I'm trying to remember if I bought anything. I feel like, did they make controllers for PlayStation, the original one?
They did.
Yes, I think I may still have a Mad Catz controller for my PlayStation somewhere. But that's mostly what I remember them for, are controllers, and I can't remember if they made memory cards or not. But yeah, no, I remember them from those things.
They mostly made garbage accessories for third-party they were like a third-party accessory company for consoles. Usually their business model was predicated on tricking parents into buying cheaper alternative crappy versions of controllers and things.
Yep.
So like you'd go into a store, it's like, "Oh, the official PlayStation brand controller is like, I don't know, like $50. Well, you can buy the Mad Catz one that comes with the turbo and looks like it, came out of someone's ass, and that'll cost you $20. Why don't you get that one?" And that's what people would do, and then it would break 10 minutes later. Like, Mad Catz controllers were hot fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good way. They weren't hot shit good. They were hot shit bad.
Yeah.
Like, really just gross, nasty shit. Anyway, the point is, that company went bankrupt. And I applaud their death. Fuck them. I'm glad they're gone. Their products were terrible. I've done videos, like, if you guys have been watching me for a long time, you'll know I did Dreamcast videos on them all the way back in like 2010, where I would show like, "Oh, this is this Mad Catz Dreamcast controller," and you could watch it just like break on camera. Like, they were that poorly made. They just had horrible shit. And I was told that in the last couple years of their life, they actually started to improve the quality of their products, which, good on them, but it wasn't enough to save them in the end. They're finally out of business, and they went on for almost 30 years. They were founded in like 1989, and because of that, I suspect that's why they put a Z in Catz, because it was the 80s. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on them. Fuck them. I'm glad they're gone.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know they were still around, because I don't really remember. Well, then I don't even look at like third-party peripherals for any of the modern consoles I have, and so yeah, I kind of forgot that they existed until you had brought it up. I'm like, yeah, I think I had a controller or something from them at one point, bought by my parents, of course, back then, and I'm just surprised they survived as long as they did. Right, I thought they'd gone out after what's the generation with the PlayStation? The 6th generation?
The PS1?
Yeah.
That was 5th gen.
Fifth gen, yeah. I thought they were gone either in the 5th or the 6th gen with the PS2. I didn't even think they were still around, because it's kind of interesting. I don't really remember that much third-party peripheral existing. And I'm sure there's a lot of it. I just don't remember seeing it in stores or really noticing it that much compared to when I was younger, or having that much variety. Once the later part of the life of the PS3 and Xbox 360 came around, and then once the Xbox One and PS4 and definitely the Wii U and the Switch, I don't really see that many peripheral, right? At least not as noticeable as I used to, where it's like you'd go to a store and you'd see like a giant shelf with, the first party official stuff, and then you'd see like, oh, here's like a giant wall of 8 or 9 different companies making third party controllers, right?
That is true. I remember Mad Catz making like some Guitar Hero bullshit for like the Xbox 360, but I don't remember seeing them around much since then. But I do remember just what you're talking about. Like there was a time you'd go into a store and you'd have like a bazillion different controller options from all these different companies for the same platforms, and over time they got thinned out. But there is a reason for that. They suck.
Yeah.
Their products are terrible. And like I said, I'm glad Mad Catz is dead. They were the gold standard for shit. Like, it's like, oh, their name is synonymous with like, oh, don't buy that, it won't work. And so fuck them. I'm glad they're gone, man. I'm glad they're gone. Their products were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't have any specific stories off the top of my head, but I do remember over time being, unfortunately, in that position where you have like an aunt or a grandmother or someone like that who buys you some sort of video game thing, thinking the Mad Catz one because it's cheaper doesn't matter. It's the same thing. Oh, look, it's neon yellow. That's what the kids like. Neon yellow controller. It must be great. Mm-hmm. And it's like you get it, and you're just like, this is fucking horrible. It feels terrible. It doesn't really work all that well, and it's terrible shit. Like Mad Catz did at least a decent job with their memory cards. I remember that. Like, I had a couple of them for PS1, PS2, and Dreamcast. Oddly enough, like they would save your game data and have it not be corrupt. That was the extent of what I could say about them. Which is the minimum you would expect in it.
Yeah.
Whereas you would expect if Mad Catz had been good, they would have been a third-party company that made not cheap, shitty alternatives and having their entire business model predicate on tricking the ignorant. Instead, it would have been, we're going to make the high-quality products and be like the better than the official product. So like, how Microsoft made an Xbox One Elite controller. Mm-hmm. Mad Catz should have been the ones making that. Mad Catz should have been the guys who were like, we're going to make the better version of things. Maybe that would have been more expensive, yes, but in theory, if they were successful at it and they were known for high quality products, then they could have survived through this. Whereas there's only so long, especially in the internet era, where you can do an instant Google search on any product, where you can just keep tricking the ignorant masses.
Yeah, that's very true.
Shitty, fucking broken bullshit controllers. And I think they realized that, but they realized it a little too late. Because, again, I've heard in their defense that a lot of their later stuff, specifically in the 7th gen and early 8th gen products, were actually halfway decent. But if they're only, like, equal to the official product, then there's no point. Like, why would you do that? If they cost the same, they function the same, there's no benefit other than it not having the official company logo on it. Like, I don't need to see a picture of a cat claw to be like amused. Like, I don't need that. So you need to give me some additional benefit, whether it's cheaper or it has better features. And they tried cheaper and it didn't work.
Well, they tried cheaper but compromised on the quality too much, clearly.
Exactly, and that's how they made it cheaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those things where I think they could have, because you're saying with the 7th and 8th gen, they basically matched the price of the existing.
That's vaguely how I recall it being, but I don't have numbers in front of me, so I could be wrong about that. I'm operating off of a vague memory.
Okay, so if that's the case, I'm a little surprised if they didn't offer anything additional, because you gotta think these companies like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. They charge a lot for their peripherals now, like their controllers, and it does not cost that much to make those controllers. It's just they're going off of the brand and this is the official one, so they can afford to make the price a little bit more expensive to get more profit, right? I know people.
Something that would piss off most gamers if they realized that the PS4 controller at launch, while it costs like $60 to buy, it only costs them about $14 to produce.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the actual console with the controllers at launch, it retailed $400 US, and they only cost grand total of like $382 or something to make. So they were only making like $18 on the console. But you can tell most of that was actually from the controller.
Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, there's a whole business model in that. But what I was trying to say is that if there's that much of a profit margin, right, in the official controllers, Mad Catz should have been able to compete by offering the same quality and just not getting as much of a margin of profit, right? By just cutting to their own margin, but offering something that's maybe, say, $10, $15 cheaper. That would be how they could have probably survived, saying, hey, this one's actually just about as good quality as the official one, but if you're in a budget and you don't have the money to afford a $60 controller or whatever the price was, you can get the Mad Catz one. Is actually a decent quality now, and they could actually take advantage of the internet, right? Other people that actually were willing to try it and gave it good reviews if it was good quality. For other people, it would kind of snowball, right? People would say, oh, is there something cheaper? Oh, there's this Mad Catz one and it has decent reviews. I'll trust getting this one, right? And they could have actually saved the reputation by doing that. But if they just match the price of the official ones, I see absolutely zero reason to get a third-party one when, if for some reason the official one broke within a certain time period, you could probably get through a warranty that I'm assuming they offer, like a limited time warranty, limited parts warranty or something. Get it fixed through the official company as opposed to a third party, right?
Mm-hmm. I would have said, don't try that. I would have said try that, but not use the Mad Catz name. I think Mad Catz was to game controllers what Internet Explorer is to browsers. It's just their name is so fucking tainted that it didn't matter what they did. It's just too far gone.
That's true. So they could have hidden their name or just changed the name or something.
They could have come up with some completely new name and started making good quality controllers and just slowly killed off the name Mad Catz while continuing to keep their business alive. Yes, you lose the name and any sort of positive value that might have had, but I would argue there was more negative value to their name than positive.
Yeah.
So that's how I think we could have saved Mad Catz, as if they had realized your name is just garbage and it's not fixable. So you still have money to keep your company afloat. You just need to basically change names and make better products, and you'll be fine.
I wonder what kind of...
At least that would have been what I would have guessed. I don't think they did that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be hearing about them going out of business.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of legalities there are into changing your company's name, right?
I don't think you can just straight up change your company's name, but you can essentially create a new LLC and then suddenly make everybody be working for that.
Yeah.
And then the Mad Catz LLC just ceases to exist.
Yeah. Maybe.
Pretty sure they could just do that.
And I wonder if there's a transfer of patents, because I'm assuming they had some sort of series of patents to do with their own work.
Oh, I'm sure they could have pulled it off. Any team of lawyers is going to be capable of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anyway, so that's our thoughts on Mad Catz going bankrupt. Rest in peace. You suck.
Yeah.
You have anything else to say about him?
No, not really.
All right, then we'll move on. Our next subject is also from a Patreon backer. This is from Corey Marsh, and he wanted us to talk about Wii U emulation, specifically the fact that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is now somewhat playable on a PC. Chip, you did the most research into this. What have you got to say?
Yeah, so I actually didn't know anything about the Wii U emulation. So I looked into the emulator itself, the team behind it, kind of where they stand. And then I read a couple of very high-level articles on the emulation, specifically at the beginning, I guess, when Breath of the Wild came out, and then a little bit closer in time, like a little bit in the latter part of March, right, and how it's improved. Actually, quite a lot since the first article mentioned Breath of the Wild. So to kind of give you a rundown, it was reported, I think March 3rd, that the Breath of the Wild was capable of being emulated on a PC through a Wii U emulator. And of course, Breath of the Wild is available both on the Wii U and on the Switch. So you're playing the Wii U version of this game. And so everyone was getting excited, saying, oh, this is amazing, and also what is this going to mean? Because if you can already emulate the flagship title from Nintendo's latest console, even if it's on the old console, is this going to hurt their sales a lot? But you look a little closer and you see, the article actually says that literally nothing but the main menu is playable at all. You couldn't really do anything in the game yet because the emulator for the Wii U was so new and so much in active development that, and of course Breath of the Wild is so demanding because it's literally the last flagship game for the Wii U from Nintendo, right?
It's the last one Nintendo's doing.
Yeah.
But maybe not the last title altogether.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it'd be the last title on the Wii U entirely, but it's the last one from Nintendo, and knowing Nintendo, they know how to take advantage of their own hardware. So it really pushed the hardware. So yeah, when it was first announced in March, at the beginning of March, when the Breath of the Wild came out, it didn't really do anything. I mean, it wasn't going to really affect anyone, because unless someone was just literally on the edge saying, well, now that I see that emulation could be possible in the future, I'll wait until the emulation gets better. But it wasn't going to stop anyone who's like, oh, I can pirate this game right now, I'll just do that instead of getting a Switch, right? Or a Wii U. Because it just didn't work beyond the menu, supposedly. Now, there was a more recent article published by, I think, PC Magazine, maybe, in the latter part of March, I think around the 22nd of March, and it was discussing how Breath of the Wild, what they claim already runs well, quote unquote, in the Wii U emulator. So the Wii U emulator is called CEMU. I don't know what the C is for, or if it's some sort of acronym that isn't just C and then emulator, because I haven't looked into that part. But they were mentioning how with the latest version of the emulator being released, they have the game running, at least in parts, at 30 FPS, which is a huge leap above only being able to get to the main menu. Now, this doesn't mean that it actually fully works, and I wouldn't want to have my first experience of the game be from an emulator that is not, the game itself has not been fully optimized and that kind of stuff. But it has made significant progress in literally just a couple of weeks. And I was curious as to why that was the case. And so, Adam, do you want to take a guess as to why? Well, you already know why, because I told you in advance. But what would you have guessed before I told you?
I don't know, man. Just proceed. Just go ahead.
All right. Well, you ruined that one, but whatever. Basically,
sorry.
CEMU has a Patreon, which is quite surprising to me, because literally it's a Patreon to fund developments of an emulator to let you pirate Wii U games, right? Essentially, because the Wii U is, you can still buy them even if they're just refurbished, and the games are still on sale in stores. So to me, it's a form of piracy, right? Until the system and the games are at the point where you can only get them used somewhere else, and even then, you really should have a physical copy, and then if you want to back it up and emulate it, you can. They're getting a decent amount of funding. In fact, as I'm looking at the page now, they're getting over $25,000 per month through Patreon to support the team that are working on the console emulator. Most
That's
likely
amazing. I didn't know it was 25,000.
Yeah, $25,000.
That's amazing.
So literally over the 4 months, they get basically $100,000, right, towards developing this emulator, which is, you've gone from some hobbyists making an emulator, which might get a cease and desist, to literally you have people making money to work on this emulator to improve the performance. Most likely people are doing it, or at least it got a lot of its traction probably from the discussion of Breath of the Wild, right? But I am very surprised that, especially with Nintendo's reputation of attacking YouTubers and their monetization of game footage, and Nintendo's cease and desist on content from older games where people have made 3D remakes or other spin-offs of games, just fan-based games, and how they shut them down. I'm very surprised that this team has not been shut down or had a lawsuit against them by Nintendo, considering how the Wii U is still, at least the games are still being sold in stores today, and Nintendo offers refurbished consoles on their site. So it's not totally gone yet, right?
Let me speculate on that. First of all, what they're doing is not actually illegal. You can build emulators as long as you don't steal like source code and stuff. That case was decided in the early 2000s. So Nintendo would actually, from a legal standpoint, would lose. So all they would know that they would lose too. The only thing they could do with that is spend money on litigation to stop it from happening, and just basically spend the opponent to death, even though the opponent wins every time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think there must be someone at Nintendo who's like, look, the Wii U is a flop. We don't really want anything else to do with it. We certainly don't want to lose any more money on it. Pursuing this is not going to help us in any way, and it's likely not going to have any effect on sales of Breath of the Wild. because as you point out, it's not even playable yet. Like the amount of the niche group that's sitting there being like, well, I was about to pick up a Switch, but then I heard in about 2 years from now I'll be able to play it for free through a Wii U emulator, is not a large group. So they likely would cost them more than they could ever possibly hope to make back. And at the same time, it says a lot about Nintendo's lack of interest in the Wii U. I mean, my favorite example about their lack of interest in the Wii U is that the system is currently running dashboard software 5.5.1. They have not updated that software since January of 2016. They have not put a patch out on the dashboard of their console in almost a year and a half. And if they can't even do that, knowing full well that the console is now very easily hacked, like you can very easily hack the Wii U now, and they still don't care. So my guess is building an emulator, they're not going to put up with that, because like, you know, fucking patching it so that you could stop hacking, they could do that with relative ease. It's their own software, they control it, and they don't do it. So the idea of hiring a legal team to go after people on Patreon to stop making an emulator when, from a legal standpoint, they're not even in the right side of that argument, they're not going to bother. I think it's just, they don't care. It's put the Wii U under the rug and move on. Like you said, they are selling refurbished units and stuff, but it's literally just broken ones they received or stuff they recalled from stores they're just kind of putting back together with parts they've got laying around and just trying to resell them off. The Wii U is done for them. It is done.
So let me ask you one thing for clarification. On the court case, you mentioned in the early 2000s that basically allowed you to work on these emulators, you know, not be attacked by the companies that had made these systems, right? Because essentially you're having to reverse engineer the systems, right? Did that case involve people getting paid to do this, or was this?
There was Bleem that was run by Rand Linden, not Bleemcast, although that would be a future project. There was Bleem, and then there was another one that was actually done by Apple, although I can't remember what their program was, that allowed you to play PS1 games on Mac computers. And Apple sold it and everything, and they legally, from a legal standpoint, they won, even though they had to reverse engineer stuff. They didn't actually use any of the Sony BIOSes, and they made them so that they would only run official copies of the games, so they didn't really break any rules. It's just that in both cases, you know, in the case of Apple, they just more or less like lost interest in selling them. They had temporarily shut down, and by the time they were allowed to come back in, nobody really cared. And with Bleem, they were too small of a company, and enough litigation was thrown at them that they eventually just ran out of money.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but there was a time there, but those court cases basically decided what America's position, at least in the United States' position on emulation is. It is legal to build that software. Playing the games on it, though, is not necessarily legal unless you already own them for what we call backup purposes. It's an interesting gray area, but what we do know is emulators are legal as long as they don't straight up steal BIOS and source code from the original thing. Essentially, if you're able to replicate it without actually using the original version, you should be fine. And I'm guessing that's what's happening here.
Yeah, because I actually don't know. I've not checked out the emulator to know how they handle the software of the Wii U, right? Because clearly, as you said, if they managed to just if they took a copy of that, then they'd be in trouble, right? If they produce their own custom software that just ran the games, maybe that's what they are able to do. Otherwise, if they're just, as you said, we provide the emulator, but you have to find the BIOS hosted somewhere else that's actually illegal, right? And throw that in. I guess that makes sense.
My guess is they're not dumb enough. If they're taking money, they're not dumb enough to try and just clone. They're not going to use the actual BIOS. They're going to make their own.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, then they have a lot to lose if they steal the actual BIOS.
Yeah, and make money from it, because that would be even more
exactly
deadly case. Yeah.
But yeah, my guess is they're probably doing it on the up and up, and even if they weren't, I still don't think Nintendo would care.
At this point,
Nintendo is very copyright strike heavy, as we've all noticed from YouTube. But even they on the Wii U are just like, we're done. We are not going to expend any further effort on this console. And to me, the ultimate proof of that is what I was saying before about how they haven't patched their own console in nearly a year and a half.
Yeah.
Even though it's been cracked already, and it continues to be cracked, and they could fix that, but they don't care enough to do so.
Yeah, and to give people perspective on Nintendo actually caring, if you look at the 3DS, right, which was Nintendo's hot-selling handheld, right, and the DS before that and that kind of stuff, there are a lot of flash carts out there for these systems that basically allow you to put an SD card in and then load it up, and you can play games or emulate old systems or play modern DS, or if you have a 3DS cart, play 3DS games, right? And those would actively, those carts, there were quite a few of them, and they would have to actively keep up with Nintendo, who would release patches quite frequently that would literally just make the carts not work. And so you had to basically be careful and try to update your cart first before updating your system. Otherwise, you could not use the cart, right?
Yeah.
And so Nintendo actively did that, and to this day, I'm assuming they're still actively doing that, unless they finally concluded the 3DS, which I don't think they have yet. I think they're still.
No, I think with the 3DS, they're kind of waiting to see how the Switch performs.
Yeah, yeah, but they were actively pursuing that, right? I was watching a couple of these flashcard sites to see, out of curiosity, how the technology was improving, and a couple of them tried to have alternative ways to upgrade the carts, right? So you actually had to do like firmware flashing on the carts, yeah, it'd be like you'd see on all these forums how suddenly it would be like, oh, my cart doesn't work anymore because they just upgraded this week, and then they'd have a patch and they'd be like, oh, Nintendo released another patch like 2 weeks later, and it caused it to stop working again. And it's like every single time, no matter what updates Nintendo actually included in the 3DS updates, at least, they would also cause the carts to stop working. So clearly, Nintendo was closely following the piracy there and doing their best to make it where those carts would not work for long, right?
It made sense because that was their breadwinner. That's where they were making all their money.
Exactly. So the fact that, like you said, they've not bothered to push out another update to their Wii U system in over a year now, and it's been fairly well cracked at this point, and probably it sounds like it's been pretty well publicized, the crack as well. So I think I remember seeing this like on Facebook or something at one point about it, how much it's been cracked. Says a lot, like you said, about Nintendo's attitude towards the Wii U.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of another product they did that people kind of forget about. There was like this little transponder type of thing you could buy for amiibos. It was not licensed by Nintendo. It was like some Chinese company made it. And what would happen is it would allow you to take any amiibo you wanted and like scan it, and it would then connect to a computer and be like, okay, here's your amiibo, and here's all like the details with the amiibo. And if you wanted to, you could make it become any other amiibo. So like, let's say you bought a Mario amiibo, you could then scan it and tell the computer to change it to like the Sonic amiibo or the Link amiibo. That way you only have to own one amiibo, but you could use all the benefits of it in any game that supported it. And you could also max out its stats and all these other things and stuff like that for, depending on whatever game it supports. Obviously Nintendo went after that hard, and they stopped that from being sold. I don't think it was ever sold in the United States. I know they were sold in Canada briefly. I actually picked one up while I was there, just as like a novelty. But it did not last long, and it's one of those things where that amiibos were making shit tons of money, so Nintendo cared. But with the Wii U, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this includes you or anybody in the comments, I can't think of a single time Nintendo ever really went after people for Wii U replication, whether it be emulation or really anything. I mean, because I don't know. I can't, like we were just talking about with amiibos. There were people doing that. 3DS people are trying to steal stuff from it, and they go after them. But with the Wii U, they seem to never really give a shit, especially now.
Yeah, I don't really know, because I didn't get into the Wii U until a little bit later in its lifespan. So I don't know on the early stages, right when they first released it, if there was some legal action they pursued against someone, right, for doing something early on. But if that's the case, I mean, clearly it wasn't that high profile of a case, because neither of us remember it, right?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is when they went after YouTubers for playing their games, but like that's not a good example.
No, and then they're still doing that for any of their games, even the old ones, right?
Yeah, if anything, they're getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I think we've covered that one pretty well.
All right. Well, thank you, Corey, for that subject. And it's actually kind of a good transition because we were just talking about YouTube and what they were doing. So YouTube, we've gotten to the YouTube apocalypse here. I don't know how this is going to play out over the course of the next month. So what we tell you right now may not be relevant by the end of this month, but we'll see. So, Chip, I don't know how much you've been following this, but over the last week or so, a bunch of advertisers have pulled from YouTube. Companies like Walmart have pulled from YouTube. I don't remember the others, but there was a bunch of them that decided our ads will no longer exist in front of YouTube content. Had you heard about this?
Maybe to some degree, vaguely, but give me the details.
Okay, so basically, what happened is someone somewhere at some company saw some video that they didn't approve of, but they saw an ad of their company in front of the said video. And somehow they didn't realize that their ads weren't really controlled. Like Walmart, I know for sure pulled their ads. So like it could be that a guy, like I could make a video that says like, fuck Walmart, they're the worst store ever, I hate them. And like the whole video is just about anti-Walmart. But at the same time, the tags, the system, it recognizes that I'm talking about Walmart, so it puts Walmart ads in front of me. So if you're a Walmart executive and you pull up my video that's all about how much I hate your fucking store, but I'm getting paid by you in front of it, it really makes you upset.
Yeah.
But there's no way to control that because there's not enough human beings on the planet to filter through every single YouTube video and see what is appropriate by committee for every single ad. It's just not a possibility. So a lot of companies basically said, fuck it, we're done with YouTube. What it's done is it's already shaved off YouTube earnings by about 33% for most people, which is really bad. And as a YouTuber, especially me, I can tell you, like, yeah, that's really unfortunate. So what Google is doing in an effort to fix this is they're coming up with a new system where they try to come up with an algorithm that decides whether or not it thinks your videos are not ad-friendly. Now, my channel, fortunately, has not been hit by this, but if it does happen to you, they don't tell you, which is great. You basically, if you look at your YouTube videos, you'll see like this little section that says, it'll show like a green icon with a dollar symbol saying this video is monetized, which means everything's fine. If it's not ad friendly, that will switch to a yellow dollar symbol and you hover over it and says it's not considered ad friendly, but they give you the option to appeal it. But they don't ever notify you that that happened. You have to actually go into a separate section and see if you have any videos with that problem. Now, fortunately, again, on my channel, I haven't had that issue. My other channel, though, Game Society, has run into that twice. We had this one video where it was just about a Skyrim video, and they said this video is not ad-friendly. And we were like, well, why? We couldn't figure it out. So we just decided to tinker with it and see what we could come up with. So the first thing we did was we changed the still, you know, like the thumbnail of the video, just to see what would happen. And then, like, 5 minutes later, the video was remonetized. So apparently they hated our still. That's all we know. Then a second video we had, which was like a 6-year-old video about the game Prey. You ever play that shit?
No.
It's a really cool game. It was a first-person shooter from, made by 2K a long time ago. And it's finally getting a sequel through Bethesda. Absolutely loved the game. The whole video is like, this game's great, blah, blah, blah. And it was suddenly considered insensitive and ad unfriendly. And we had no idea why. But the video we thought wasn't worth fighting for, so we just deleted it. Because the problem is, if you have any video on your channel with that yellow flag, they tell you like, no, you're fine. It's just that one video. But that's not true. The algorithm basically goes, okay, that channel has a video that's not ad friendly. So I'm going to bet there's more videos on this channel that are not ad friendly. Therefore, we're not going to recommend any videos from this channel. So like in Game Society's case, our views were plummeting and we had no idea why. And eventually we found out it was because of that Skyrim video. So once we changed it, our views went back up because they're like, oh, this channel's safe. It doesn't have any unsafe videos. And then they had a new claim, and then it goes back down. Point is, YouTube is scaring the hell out of all of us who actually make a living off of it because they're fucking with our livelihood, but they won't explain what they're doing or why. But at the same time, I don't really blame them because they're trying to figure out a system that makes advertisers happy. Because if you don't, the reality is, if you don't have ads on YouTube, you don't have a functional website. You'll end up with just little kids making videos and stuff. Like, nobody is going to have the time or the funding to justify just constantly making content for YouTube. It's not the way the world works. Like, you just need to, like with any job, man, like you should, people will say like, oh, you need to have the passion for it. You need to just want to do it for free. It's like, yeah, of course I wish I could, but I have bills to pay too. And it's like me going to your job and being like, I don't know what you do, man, but you should just do it for free. Like, you're an engineer. If I went, no, you like to do engineering stuff. Why don't you just not take any money for that? Why don't you just do it for free? It's like your first reaction is like, okay, you're an idiot and I need to pay bills, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's basically the same fucking thing. It's somehow with YouTube, people don't get that that's a job, but it is. And so right now, they're causing a lot of issues, and hopefully they're going to work it out. They claim that they're working on upgrading their algorithm so that it gets smarter, and I hope they do that, because if they do scare off all of the advertisers, their website will die. And that's bad.
Yeah. Well, the advertising model has been declining lately, hasn't it? Just in general?
Yeah, only because it's getting harder to control what the ads will be on. And that's what's scaring companies, because with something like with conventional media, like a television show like the Super Bowl, it's the most extreme example in the United States, is like every company that builds a commercial for that knows exactly what they're building a commercial for, and they know how the commercial will be perceived and all that stuff. They figure all that out. But if you're putting that in front of a video that you have never seen before, and you're just trusting that video has nothing objectionable, then that's a big gamble for them. So I get why companies are worried about that, but it just sucks because right now we're living in this weird period where we don't know how this is going to turn out. And I know there's somebody right now in the comments, probably of high school age, being like, YouTube has so much money, who cares, blah blah blah. Dude, you have no idea how much money it costs to run YouTube on a day-to-day basis. There's something like 400 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. The server farm for them must be insane to run. In fact, I think, Chip, you told me about this. I think YouTube loses more money every day than it can possibly get back. And to lose another 33% of that is insanity.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme. Yeah, the technology the hardware that you need to maintain that, even with all this cloud technology, trying to make disk space cheap and store it in different places. And of course, YouTube being part of the Alphabet family, right? Or I don't know if YouTube is an Alphabet or if it's actually directly underneath Google itself, right? Even with them backing it, right, and having all these resources, it is absurd how much storage they need to hold all the videos, the bandwidth they need to be able to stream the videos at a decent speed, right, for all the people concurrently watching, for their algorithms that run, right, the amount of CPU processing you need to be, and probably outsourcing the GPU as well, parallel processing and that kind of stuff. But the amount of processing you need to be able to run this algorithm on all these videos and look at it frame by frame and examine the audio to figure out the content of the video and try to do this analytics to see if a video is quote unquote ad friendly, right? It's pretty expensive in all different areas of computing, right? Computing and computing resources. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I even if they resolve the advertising issue, I still wonder if there are going to be other issues with advertising down the line, with the viewership getting smarter on trying to avoid ads in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Because that's another issue you have, right? Is this people installing ad blockers and blocking the ads on your videos, right?
Yeah, YouTube Red is a direct result of that.
Yeah, and I have YouTube Red because I prefer not to have ads, but I also prefer to support people whose videos I watch, right?
Which is much appreciated, Chip.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how. I mean, I really don't know how much that helps you because I don't know if YouTube Red is actually worthwhile or not, right? That's something that you.
It is. I mean, based on my analytics, it breaks down exactly how much every video got from YouTube Red.
Okay.
And it's usually better than the actual ad revenue.
Okay. Yeah, and so I get plenty of benefits because I actually have YouTube Red as part of my Google Music subscription because it's currently bundled together. So if you get Google Music and use Google Music, you can also get YouTube Red bundled with it, unless they've changed that recently. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad deal at all, especially if you have any kind of income, right? Which my opinion is if I have the money to support the people, that's what I'll do. If I don't, then I'll make it in my plan or agenda such that when I get the income again, or I get an income, then I'll do that, right? And you totally see that.
Yeah.
You know, people growing up in people that are middle school, high school, they tend to to want everything free. College typically also likes to have free or cheap, right? But as you get into actually having careers and getting careers that pay a decent amount, people are more willing to throw money towards the things they care about to see them succeed. Because I don't want Adam to go away. I don't think any of you want Adam to go away either, right?
No, half of them do.
Yeah. But
get rid of him, nerd.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm concerned that even if YouTube resolves this issue, and of course they have a terrible history of every year having at least one or two nightmarish problems for creators like you, and I always seem to hear about them later. But I'm concerned about that still isn't going to fix the ad blocking problem, or even then, you're seeing more and more cases or studies coming out where more targeted advertising and reducing the advertisements on or avoiding the shotgun approach of advertising. Just fire advertisements at every video that might be related and see if you can draw in users. As analytics get smarter and YouTube tries to implement things to say, okay, what videos that people watched, it's Google. Let's track where the person visited other than that video and see if they actually ended up making a purchase, and putting more weight on videos that actually resulted in successful transactions versus just a video that has content related to your product, right? So as they get smarter and try to do like eye tracking or try to do like history navigation, analytics, and that kind of stuff, is it going to hurt smaller creators more who don't have that kind of influence, right? Where advertisers just start putting their advertisements purely on major channels and reduce how much they're giving to the smaller channels, right?
Yeah, certainly possible. I mean, I got a few things to say on what you said. First of all, about the kids, and then they become college, and then they go to, they grow up, and they're like, oh, I should support things. There is a psychology to that. When you're younger, you tend to believe like, oh, big companies, they're rich and everything's fine, everything should be free. And then basically what happens is you get older and you start to understand economics better, and you start to empathize with other people because you're like, wow, working sucks. It's really hard, and money, and like you start to get it. And that's why I think a lot of people decide that, especially with the arts, they're like, I kind of need to support these people because they aren't backed by some big company. They, if I don't support them, they go away forever. At least that's part of it. As for what else were you saying? There was about YouTube having a crisis every year. Mm-hmm. That's true. And that's the thing that we're in at the time we record this. We're at the very beginning of that phase. So odds are they'll resolve this in some capacity, but there will be sacrifices. Like right now, the reason this problem exists is that they're just coming up and testing things that are causing the problems. Like, for example, let's say they decided, oh, Walmart was afraid because of we had a video on a pro-terrorist video. So they just decided the word terrorist is now blacklisted completely. So if some guy, made a video like 6 years ago where he said, I don't like terrorists, in the description, his video is now flagged, but they don't tell him why it was because they don't want to give you the specifics because they don't want people gaming the system. So you're kind of in this middle of the road, I don't know what the hell to do phase. So then that's when they give you the option to appeal. So a human being will look at your video and decide whether or not it's acceptable or not, because they don't want to tell you that it's because you put the word terrorist in the description. So you're going to have a lot of glitches like that where people aren't sure what they're doing. But at the same time, if you go to appeal your video and you lose, consequences are bigger, and you'll then have a human being looking at your whole channel being like, I don't know. Because, like, even though my videos are not offensive, not really. I mean, I never go after, anybody. I don't try to create hate. I do swear a lot. And that's something like ad companies wouldn't like, stuff like that. So we don't know exactly by what metric they're currently defining all of their problems, but we're in a phase here where a lot of automation is going to cause a lot of headaches for a little while until people kind of figure out what some of the rules are. So we'll see how that plays out. And the other thing, what were you saying before?
Targeted ads.
Targeted ads, yes. So this was an interesting observation I had. I don't know if you saw my Switch predictions video, but I briefly I was trying to give an analogy regarding shoes. Basically saying that while we're game collectors and we're passionate about games, most people aren't like that, and most money isn't made from people like us. It's made from people who buy it casually. And I likened it to shoes. There are people who are called sneakerheads. They're super into shoes. That's what they're passionate about. They spend tons of money on shoes. Yet big companies make more money off of guys like me who buy one pair of shoes every few years because everyone buys shoes, but a very small percentage of people buy fuck tons of shoes. So even though that group is super passionate about it, they're still making way more money off people who aren't passionate about it. That was my whole point. But somehow, not every video, but somehow I got a lot of ads for shoes in front of my videos because of that. And at the same time, a lot of the recommended videos from my video were shoe videos, like people who pick up and collect shoes. And I swear what's happening now is Google's got some new system in place that's trying to pick up certain words in videos and say, like, he was talking about shoes for a minute. Shoes must be relevant to this video. Put ads for shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that's what
I'm sure they've got something like that implemented by now. I mean, computer vision and audio analytics to determine what's being said are both prevalent technologies now. And with enough computing resources, you could easily have a AI going around, examining videos, figuring out what topics are being discussed, right? Figuring out the the emotions that the video tries to bring out, like anger, is it soothing, that kind of stuff to determine if it's friendly or not, right? But also, I do wonder if certain advertisers can kind of put more of weight on their own advertisements, such that shoe companies might be investing more money, such that shoe topics are higher priority, even if they're less frequent than, say, video game topics, right? Such that, even if 90% of the video you're discussing video games and you think you'd see related video game content, because the companies that are advertising or want to advertise shoes are paying a lot more money, it picks up, there's a shoe topic here, let's throw this higher paying advertiser on this video and not as many of the other ones that might be more relevant, right?
Yep. It's entirely possible. I mean, but we don't know. That's the thing. YouTube they intentionally don't want us to know, which is something that annoys us, but at the same time, I get it, because if everyone knew all the trade secrets of how to game the system for YouTube, then everyone would be at the same disadvantage, and it would be even harder. So, like, if you know how to do a couple tricks here and there, you can get yourself in the algorithm, but for the most part, nobody really knows. And I'm not even totally sure YouTube knows entirely how their algorithm works, because it's built on top of a lot of spaghetti code, and they just kind of fix problems that were created by someone else like 10 years ago, and they don't know what that piece of code does. And that's how a lot of the time you end up with weird things that just suddenly happen on YouTube.
Yeah, spaghetti code is definitely a problem. We're also, in terms of technological standpoint, we're getting closer and closer to what I think will be, at least in technology standard, like a famous point in history where humans will have developed code that they won't understand how it runs, right?
Yeah.
Because right now you're doing a lot of machine learning, but machine learning just boils down to statistics and trying to figure out, okay, let me classify this as something based on all these previous historical data points I've given, that kind of stuff. And you've got things like neural networks that try to do, better routing of topics and figure out where they go and what to do. But we're getting closer and closer to a point where humans are going to develop a system. They're going to feed a bunch of data, and they're not going to understand how it came to the conclusion that it got to, right? And when that happens, that's going to be very interesting for sites like YouTube, if they're even still around, right? To the point where literally you don't have people that understand the internal, like why the decision was made. You just have people that can say, okay, well, I know if I tweak these inputs more, then the decision will change, right? And it'll be like a black box to humans where you won't know how or why it's working on the inside.
Totally. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to kind of end things on kind of a depressing story about YouTube possibly killing us all off. But regardless, thank you guys for supporting the channel. Hopefully you understand more so than ever why it's becoming a problem. Patreon, I swear things like Patreon are probably the future. Fan funding is probably the future, because if YouTube continues to decline with all their ad revenue and stuff, like, shit's just gonna go away. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
You know, like, if we can't make the brutal truth is, if I can't make a living from my job, then I can't keep doing this job, and then I have to go do a different job. So to all Patreon backers, obviously you, Chip, as well as Corey, Kyle, Colin, Paul, and the rest of you listening, thank you very much for that. You do seriously make it possible for myself and others just like me to continue to do this, and hopefully bring you some entertainment and joy throughout the day. So thank you to you guys. Thank you, Chip. Any last thoughts before we go?
Long live Adam Koralik.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.